live on many platforms. Facebook, we're live on LinkedIn, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on something else. Your Affordable Board,
nice.
Private members only area.
Strong.
So I'm Andy Henderson. I am Andy Henderson. I'm sometimes a Sherpa guide, but more often than not, I'm just me, which is a great place to be. And I'm joined by Dave Scholes today.
Hello, hello.
How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thanks, mate. You?
One of my good buddies, my heart architect.
Heart architect, I like that. I do like that.
Making sure that as much as I can be my authentic self and just be Andy Henderson and be all right with that. And that's what Dave does. But something you might be asking yourself is, what's all this about? Powered by Mates. Dave, what is it all about, Powered by Mates?
So yeah, Powered by Mates comes from the back of my own story, really. I lost a pal of mine to suicide 10 years ago and navigated through some of that stuff with a lot of professional help, but a lot of mates just sticking an arm round and just being the support when I needed it, good stuff, bad stuff, and everything in between. And as we developed a business around that ethos of going, if we can get people talking a little bit more and we can get people bringing this in when, you know, they may not be struggling, they're just bringing it into the day-to-day, this whole Powered by Mates thing effectively becomes what you want it to be. But it's just about being there for your pal, being there for your family, being there for your colleague.
It's massive, isn't it?
And it is, and we are, you know, we are so Powered by Mates, you know, it's great helping people, it's great getting help. It's the simplest thing I've ever come up with, but it seems to have some traction, mate.
It has some traction. Well, it certainly has some traction with me. Powered by Mates. I got this T-shirt. I got a T-shirt, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago. And I probably have it on 3 or 4 times a week. And sometimes...
I don't think you've ever had it off.
Sometimes I recycle it. Sometimes it goes in the washing basket. And I want to wear it the next day, so I just pull it out and spritz it a little bit, give it an iron, and it's good to go. It's all right, honestly.
That's a great product thing, isn't it? If that works, that's
honestly,
it works.
It works. Just a good job. This video's not scratch and sniff right now. But I think one of the things, I mean, it's an incredible story that you've got, and how you're using your lived experience to change the world, really.
Yeah.
But when I bought the T-shirt, I actually rang you up, didn't I? And left a voicemail because I felt different. No secret. I mean, no secret to anyone, really. I think we all suffer from mental problems sometimes. We all suffer from being a bit sad and a bit down. And, you know, sometimes we just need something to help us. And that thing for me is always my mates.
Yeah.
You never think of it like that. It's always like you take them for granted and you think they'll always be there, and you know, you have good times with them, you share the bad times and stuff. But I slipped this T-shirt on and I had it on for the first day. And on the way home, I left you a voicemail and it went along the lines of, Dave, I've got the T-shirt on, Powered by Mates. And I feel different. I feel different.
Incredible.
I feel safe. I feel protected. I feel like even though I'm walking home on my own, because I was just walking up the road to my house from the office. And I thought, even though I'm here on my own, I don't feel like I'm on my own.
Yeah.
And it's just a T-shirt with just a few words.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And you didn't pick up the bloody voicemail.
No, I didn't. No, I was gutted.
Did you listen to that voicemail? What voicemail?
Yeah.
Then you listened to it.
You pouring your heart out, and I missed it.
And then something changed for you in terms of how you interpreted this. What happened?
Yeah, and I think that was it. I think it was the light bulb moment of going, you know, this last 18 months of starting something from scratch and building this thing, and you know, 2 weeks in, COVID hits and we can't do what we want to do, and I had to flex a little bit, and we created something that was brilliant, and that became something else, and we flexed a little bit there, and it's almost like that point where you went, I feel incredible.
And I felt it, honestly. It was no bullshit. It was like, I felt this thing. I was like walking up, looking at it, feeling it. I'm going, Dave, there's something here with this.
And that moment where you said that, I went, somebody else is saying the same thing that's in my head. That was what this was, that we've spent all this time trying to create and shaping and flexing from where we started. It was that moment where you went, I feel part of something. It's incredible. It's powerful, which is why you will talk to other people about it, and why other people are attracted to it. I've gone, that's it. That's the conversation starter.
It is, and you should have seen me. I went to the New Order gig at Heaton Park, And of course, I wore my Powered by Mates t-shirt. And I could see people looking at it and reading it and stuff. But as the night went on, as I got more and more drunk, I just kept sort of bumping into people, shaking their hand, showing them my t-shirt, and going, "What do you think about this?"
Brilliant.
And I'm not kidding you. There were so many people just grabbed hold of me, got the mates round, got the camera out. And there must be 100 people with photographs of me looking stupid on their photos with their mates.
Love it.
But they loved it,
and that's it.
So Powered by Mates. It's so simple,
and it's interesting. You know, we probably shared this story a few times to different people. You know, the first thing I said to you was, "I want to save the world."
Save the world,
and it didn't faze you, which was great because it fazed a few people. But actually, when you told that story about New Order the other week, it felt like that was a really massive step to going, this might actually, in some weird way, save the world. Because we were trying, we've tried to put this into places where we thought it needed to be. All we've got to do is put it out there.
Yes.
So actually, a lot of those at a concert, can you imagine that? A load of people wandering around in Powered by Mates t-shirts.
It only starts with one person.
Of course
then it becomes two, then it becomes four.
But it's the dancing man, isn't it? It's that dancing man thing and all that kind of stuff. And I feel, and it's the great thing about business, isn't it? You have your ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. There's so many times I've said to you, I want to become a postman, and it's just got too tough. But actually, it just feels now, which is really powerful for me, that there's a few people just starting to dance. We've had the inner circle of people who've got this from the off, and they're starting to go, I get it. And there's other people going, I like the dance they're doing.
Yes.
And that is as simple as it is.
Half the reason is people in business expect things to be complicated.
Yeah.
And it's 3 words.
Yeah.
And it's powered by, and it's almost like the most simplest thing that you should never forget, but we forget.
Yeah.
What do you do when you've had a great week? You ring your mates up and go, I've had a great fancy beer. What do you do when you're having a shit week? You ring your mates up and go, do you fancy a bit? Well, I do.
Yeah.
Because I know my life's powered by mates, but it took a t-shirt from you to make me understand and appreciate that my mates, Dave, my mates around me are absolutely everything, and it's all I need.
Yeah.
Including my wife, because my wife's my best mate.
And that's the thing, that mates thing is colleagues, it's friends, it's family, and all that kind of stuff. And I think what we've got to now in this 18-month journey of building a business is Powered by Mates was always the thing that we were trying to do. It was always the delivery bit into business. It was always the delivery bit here. Roast and Toast is Powered by Mates. Yes. 6 Connections, the whole concept of that, Powered by Mates. It's all around this element that goes right back to my story of going, in the good stuff, the bad stuff, my mates were there. And it's the conversations they had without it, this mental health well-being thing that we do that I don't really like to talk about because it feels like it's clinical or whatever, and everybody judges for what it is. And I'm going, do you know what? If we're having these conversations when we're doing great, as well as when we're not doing great, all of a sudden we're helping people.
We are. But
we're also enabling ourselves to go, do you know what, I'm doing really well. Why don't I go and invest in somebody else or help somebody? And all of a sudden you're creating this very simple thing that it's just nice to be nice to people, innit?
Maybe you're just helping people remember one of the core facets of being a human.
Yeah.
It's not always about, because when we feel bad or whatever, we go quite insular, don't we?
Yeah.
We think about it's just about us and how can we protect ourselves and how can we get through the day without survive the day, So maybe it's just about that. It's just a nod to recognizing, like, guys, all this stuff doesn't matter.
No.
The only thing that matters is you, yourself, your health, your mates.
Yeah. And that's it.
Have conversations.
That's it.
But you're not just a t-shirt sales guy.
No, I'm probably making more money.
What's the stuff underneath it? You can make a difference with t-shirts.
Yeah.
You can. But if people just buy it because they like the connotation of it and don't understand what's underneath it, then maybe we're doing what you do a disservice.
Yeah,
so what's underneath it? What's the power behind? What's the power behind Powered by Mates?
Yeah. So we wanted to create this thing to change culture. There's all the stuff that's out there. Everybody's seen it over the last 18 months in the world of mental health, well-being. Everybody's very aware of it.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it more, which is brilliant. And you've got everything from mental health first aid to your counselling, professional support. There's all this stuff that's in the mix under the same heading.
Yes.
And I kind of sat in that and went, it's really confusing. And some of this stuff can be brilliant for you. Some of this stuff can be the worst thing you can do. It doesn't mean that all of it's bad. And even if it succeeds and you get some professional support, you only get that for a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
So the whole Powered by Mates ethos really comes from this culture change thing that we set up Mindsight, which was the company to start off with, that we wanted to do.
Yeah.
We didn't want to be tick box. We didn't want to be, let's just teach one person about all this stuff and then expect them to be a fixer. This was about everybody having the ability to do something. Upskill themselves a little bit, take some interest in some stuff, be there for a mate, but also to kind of understand what routes were available. We kind of took this element that a lot of businesses, you know, they might have 100 members of staff at the top, and they're all funneled into the solution that business has bought, or that number of solutions, and they're never multiple. They're only, you know, they're only a few solutions. And we went, what if we can flip it around? You know, the flip the focus thing is what we talk about. What if that one person could be funneled into hundreds of solutions? Now, for a business to buy into that, they'll go, well, look, I can't afford that. But actually, when you start to find out about the culture and about those people, some of those solutions are nothing to do with business, but they'll massively affect how people respond in work. Some of those actually might already be happening with the business, but because people haven't asked the right questions, they're not actually embracing that. So you might have a lot of people on your team that love playing a sport on a weekend. Let's get people engaged with that. And it's almost got to the point where I got so frustrated with mental health being up here. You know, we talk about everything else in the day-to-day, and then all of a sudden mental health becomes this specialist thing that we talk about. It's on a pedestal. That's not great. That.
Clinical, cold,
it is,
NHS type.
We'll bring it in when we want to do a training session on it. I'm going, it's got to be about that Powered by Mates thing again. You know, what was for last night's tea? What's tomorrow night's football score is going to be? Oh, and let's talk about how we are in the middle. And that's
how we really are.
How we really are. And I thought all we need to do is really help a business create the space for that to take place. And it might not even be in the business. You know, we've taken this journey and gone, we're not just about workplace wellbeing. I don't actually think there is such a thing. You know, we can't be trying to put square pegs into round holes. We can't be forcing people into something that they might not need, because that's the only solution we've got. And I think in the last 18 months, a lot of people have done that and felt like they needed to bring something in. What they've not done is ask the questions. They've just assumed what the answers were and gone with the thing that maybe shouted loudest, or that they thought was appropriate.
Or that fits the tick box thing.
And they bought a pair of flip-flops to walk up a mountain. And now all of a sudden wellbeing doesn't work. So we've had these...
And everyone's got sore feet.
Absolutely, and it is. And we've had all these challenges. You know, 18 months ago when we launched, you know, nobody believed this stuff was working. And tick box did work because nobody was really struggling. Then all of a sudden people started to struggle, and we had this scenario where people were being a little bit more helpful, and they were being a little kinder, weren't they? You know, it wasn't about how much are you selling, it was about how you doing. Oh, and by the way, how much are you selling? And kids could come into the screen, and cats could come into the screen, and all of a sudden that shifted a little bit as we went back into the workspace, because you have to sell again, don't you? And that kindness, you can almost feel like we're still talking about it, but it's not as, I guess, not as flexible as it was when we're going, right, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We've got to make sure that we're still heading in that direction. You know, it's got to be about people. It's still going to be about people. You can still make profit, and you can still get your return on investment with this stuff, but it's about finding out what your people need. And everybody over the last 18 months has dealt with this differently. And for me, that's just thrown into the space of going, you know what, you can have all the stats you want, 70% of this and 100% of that. It's about the 1%, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about that single person who might need different help to what that business can provide. That's where the Powered by Mates comes in, isn't it? Yes. All you might need to do is go home and have a conversation with a pal in the pub, them listen, then
you've done this recently, haven't you? You've had, I mean, it sounds like a big thing, and we're not bragging about this, but you've saved lives recently.
Yeah, and it gets a bit.
You've saved lives.
Yeah, and do you know, when I stop and think about it, I do kind of go, wow. But it has become such a normal conversation, because the saving lives bit, I operate in exactly the same way as when people are doing okay. And and the balance between the two now, for me, I'm going, I need to bottle that and help other people to do that, because all it's been about is people that have been connected to me via a mate, via a contact, that somebody's contacted them, not really knowing how they can help, and they've said, well, you need to speak to Dave, or you need to speak to the guys at Mindsight. And primarily what we've done is, from my own experience of going through some of this stuff and helping other people, we've made sure that the person that's struggling is safe.
Yes.
You know, going through all the
Point
things.
one.
Yeah, point one. You know, are they safe? Can we give them some information that might help them, you know, from crisis teams right down to numbers for suicide support and all these kind of things. But my role's been primarily to look after the person that's suddenly been brought into this situation, to be the mate for the mate. Because a lot of this stuff is just about somebody understanding how this all works, the process. And as with anything, if somebody's walked that before you, you feel a lot more confident in listening to them.
Definitely.
And the strength.
So you're almost guiding.
Yeah, and it is. And the strength in this, I think, is because I'm really open and saying I'm not an expert. You know, when people are ringing up with these situations going, look, I am not the fixer here. You need to know this, because I would be putting myself in a really difficult position if the worst case scenario happened. And reality of it is, it could, because people are coming in at a really difficult place. But what I'm saying is, look, these are the things that I've done. These are the numbers I have in my phone for this situation. This is what I know I've done in the past in this scenario. But I know that this is going to take on a lot of your headspace.
Yes.
And that's been it. You know, it's just been the text message to the person that's helped and gone, how's it going? Yeah, I'm absolutely knackered. My head is just fudged. Right, okay, well, I'm here to chat to, but is there anybody else you can chat to? And all of a sudden, what we're doing is we're creating this community of care.
Yes.
There's professional care for the person struggling. There's the care between the person that's been brought in and the person that's struggling. There's me caring for somebody else. There's them getting their care network in the mix. All of a sudden, very quickly, and I only realised this the other week, most of these scenarios have had 6 connections.
Yes.
By the time we've finished, you know, and then that's...
There's 6 people involved in making sure a person who's not feeling good is getting the support, but there's also people surrounding the person who's trying to do the best, whether it's their boss or their manager or their brother or sister.
And that was
they need support too. It's traumatic for everyone involved.
Yeah, and it was totally coincidental, which, to be honest, has happened so many times in this business. It's got to be right. But yeah, you know, when you explain that to somebody, you know, the 6 connections logo, you have yourself in the middle, you've got your 6 dots around it, and they're all connected. But when you're explaining to people that you can be on the outside of that dot helping in, but you can also be in the centre getting 6 lots of people helping out, all of a sudden, that interaction between being the helper and getting help suddenly feels really powerful.
Yes.
That's all that I did in my own journey. You know, said to you a lot that when I was doing the charitable stuff that I was doing, I was helping other people whilst going through my own journey.
Yeah, it's massive.
And I was benefiting from being helped whilst helping.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, and this 6 connections thing, the more I think about it, I've just been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's probably why it's come so easily in many ways when I talk about it.
Yeah.
That, you know,
because you're doing it's lived experience.
It is,
you're just doing it. It's who you are.
It's really easy to be authentic in it because it is what I do, and it's what I've done for ages, and I mean it.
So when we get to that point though with a person, it's crisis, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the other stuff that we're doing is around culture. It's about making sure we never get to that point for the manager or the person or whatever. So, but it must be difficult, like, because evolving workplace cultures, there's an argument that says, you know, culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
There's an argument that says that's bullshit.
Yeah.
My own personal perspective is you need both.
Yeah, you do.
You need the business to go in a certain direction. You need to have clarity, a vision. It needs to be communicated.
Yeah.
And people need to understand the part that they play in that. So they've got meaningful work. Yeah. They've got purpose-driven work. It works for them, and it's there. So the cultural aspect is a big one. And to be honest, I think this is where, from a business sense, personally, you know, we're good pals, but from a business sense, this is where we almost come together a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I'm strategy first, culture second.
Yeah.
Not like strategy is more important, but to me, you've got to have that clear. You've got to have the vision. You've got to communicate it. Then we can start working on your people and helping them understand and believe in the journey that they're all on. But you're people first, aren't you?
Yeah.
So you've been doing this with people, individuals, for the last 10 years. Now you've built a business around what you're doing, and now we're going into businesses. making sure that their people, their culture, we're building a culture of care, we're building a culture of support. But on the flip side, it needs to be a high-performing culture so that the business hits its goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a really exciting point, and I think both our worlds have collided twice recently and got us thinking. One is with Your Affordable Board, which is why we're here. We're going to talk about that in a second. But also with some recent client interactions where, you know, because we've been talking, haven't we, a bit about how we're so close to what we do. We've such, you know, it's all about the people, strategy first, people into strategy. And it's like, there's massive overlap, but how does it come together? And I think with a client that we're both very close to at the moment, that YAB's brought us together with, we're going to build a cultural improvement plan for them, and I think it's going to be wicked, because I think you need two elements. You need the strategic stuff. Where's the business going? What's it doing? What's its challenges? You know, what's the end game for it and all the people within it? But also, what about the people? How do they feel? How do we create that environment where they feel safe, where they can perform, where they can be themselves, and have a lot of fun while they're doing it? You know, and if they are having a challenge, whether that's physical or mental or whatever it is, they can just talk. Yeah, and that's fine, isn't it? Yeah. So I think we're finding our way with.
I think so. I think what I love about this most is we've not forced it.
No, it's just happened naturally.
It has happened naturally, as you've.
Can't fudge this.
No, you can't fudge it, and it's interesting, isn't it, that I, you know, we've not known each other really that long, have we? I mean, when you start with somebody saying you want to save the world, and they say, "All right, okay, yeah, it's great," which is helpful, isn't it? But I think what's happened is that you've kind of taken my heart bit, and I've taken your head bit, and you've grabbed a little bit more of me, and I've grabbed a little bit of that, and all of a sudden, what we've done is we've created strategic heart.
Yeah, we have,
haven't we? Do you know what I mean?
For the business.
For that's it, because otherwise you're just a nice guy helping a few people, aren't you?
Yes.
Or you're just a guy that's all about strides.
Or you're the guy that's cold and clinical and just wants numbers and money.
Yeah. No. But when you put those two things together, and I think when we talk about that with businesses, that is absolutely it, because you know you can create all the culture and all the elements, but it's around people being healthy in that culture, isn't it? Because a culture thrives when you're doing well. And when we're saying doing well, that's not about being top drawer all the time. That's understanding, you know, your wellness in the mix and the place that you are in that, and you know, being allowed to fall apart in it a little bit and still feel part of that environment, even when you're not doing great. Yeah, because that environment picks you up, doesn't it?
It's okay not to be okay.
Yeah, and it's absolutely that.
It's part of the human condition. Yeah. I read a post on Facebook the other day from a guy that it was a bit of a surprise post because I didn't expect it to come from him. He's a software developer. Not that there's any specific connotation there, but you know, I've worked with a few of those in the past, and I didn't expect this kind of thing. And it basically said the sooner we're okay with the fact that we are imperfect, we do fuck up, we're not mentally well all the time, we're not physically looking after ourselves all the time. Sometimes we're looking at me, we don't quite love each other. The sooner we just recognise that that's okay, the sooner we can start moving forwards.
Yeah, and it is, you know, our ultimate in this is if we could get to a stage where the apprentice or the first person, you know, the last person in the business can walk in on a Monday morning and ask the MD how they're doing, and that be a genuine interaction where the MD can turn around and go, do you what? Struggling. And that might be that they've just bonded because they like the same footy team. Yeah. Or they've had a conversation when they've been out, you know, on a work day and they both have the same beer.
It works, pal, my mates.
Of course it does. And that doesn't kind of ruin that interaction. Because obviously, you know, you've got a management structure, haven't you? But I just like that concept of being able to walk in and just say, you know, tip the wing to the boss, and the boss know that you mean it. And I just think that if we can get to that stage, you know, and it's why we do some work within, you know, the education environments as well, because this is next generation stuff as well. You know, if we can start to get some of this stuff into, you know, 14, 15, 16-year-old kids that are going now into the workspace and having to deal with a 45-year-old fellow that's never spoken about mental health, that's going to be a clash.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure how many people are thinking about that, but you know, the thing about a lot of young people now is they're more open to talk about this. We've had this in the roast and toast. You know, we get the 18-year-old coming and going, well, I talk about mental health all the time, and I'll talk about my counsellor. I'm going, right, we put that into a workspace that's not used. that's going to be a horrendous.
We need to ready the workspace for this open, for this waterfall crescendo openness and authentic stuff. You know,
absolutely.
It's pretty amazing. So we're obviously we're here to. We've got the YAB logo stuff in the background. So Dave is a founder member of YAB along with myself. It was an idea I had to build a community from my heart because, you know, part of my mental health is I worked out that community was everything for me, and I've never had it, and it got me down thinking that was always like on the periphery of stuff and always on the edge looking in and feeling a bit of a misfit and stuff. And of course, when I put on this t-shirt, I didn't feel any of that, which was really so powerful. And I created this group, Your Affordable Board, to bring business owners together that are heart-centered business owners that care about their people, they care about the environment, they care about their business, they care about their family, themselves. You know, and together we can do great work, you know, better together. And the other, the other strapline is that we've got is problem solved, because I believe that if we can help each other solve problems, we're able to think better. And if we can think better, we feel better. If we feel better, we're capable of doing anything. Yeah. So we built the group. Dave, was one of my confidants when I was going through the process of what am I doing? Shall I do this? What does it look like? What could it do? I don't know. It doesn't feel like me, but is it me? I don't know. So Dave helped me just get over myself for a bit, didn't you?
Yeah.
And we did it, and we had a first meeting, didn't we? I can't believe it's like nearly a month ago.
I know.
It seems like just last week, doesn't it?
Ridiculous.
So obviously you were always going to be a member, but why did tell us a bit about YAB, Dave? Tell us why you kind of joined, and tell us a bit about what happened in that first meeting.
Yeah. So I mean, I felt a massive part of the development of it, which was brilliant. You know, I was almost bought into it before it actually finalised being what it was. And I think the strength of it for me was, and we've said this a lot in our conversation, you know, the elements of networking events where you are around people are so strong. Yes. You know, people are saying this all the time. You see it, don't you, on your LinkedIn, you know, it's great to be around people, and it is 100%. Yeah. What I was struggling with, again, in the context of, you know, we have our roast and toast event every week. I was doing something that was around community. I had a network. I didn't need some of that stuff, and all the other networks that were available were wanting something from me to get something back. You know, you've got to do X amount of one-to-ones. You've got to do this, that, and the other. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's your thing. Yes. But I was like, I don't know whether I want to invest into something else that will get me sales and all that kind of stuff. That's great, but it just didn't feel quite like it was investing in me in the way that I guess my heart switched on. Yeah. This was the best of both worlds, and I loved the concept of obviously the room coming together and solving each other's problems, because that's what we did in Roast and Toast. That's how it developed organically, and that's why I came in. I like the idea of hearing what other people are going through, hearing that you're not on your own. Yeah. Hearing that you can share your successes and you can come together in your failures. I mean, it was almost Roast and Toast picked up and put into business. And I've had this conversation with a few people going, "Is it not Roast and Toast?" I'm going, no, it isn't. It's all the brilliant. It's kind of like it,
but it's a bit more business. It's about the person in the business, the boss in the business. Because that boss, we're a boss. You're a boss. I'm a boss, and it's fucking lonely. Yeah, it's lonely. Yeah. It's isolating. We're more connected than ever, but yet we're so disconnected. We're more disconnected than we've ever been. And some of that's driven by technology, because we don't need to go out to do stuff, Peloton gym stuff, telehealth, medicine. You know, you can watch everything on Amazon. You don't need to go to pictures. You can get everything delivered to your house. But we need to get out there. Yeah. But there was nothing out there for me, community-wise, that solved my problem. My problem was I felt disconnected. I feel lonely. Whilst I've got people that I know, when I'm not talking to them or on Zoom with them or doing this, they're not with me.
Yeah, and that was this. Yeah,
and they're all with me. And that was like the thing. Like, I need to create something that brings those people together in a really heart-centered, human way, but has a real structure about solving problems. Because I know, and I've seen it with the customers I work with, that when we solve their problems and when we help them get clear on the future, they're thinking. Their ability to think more generatively, more strategically, more excitedly about the future and the opportunity and the potential possibility, it just grows exponentially. Yeah. So you know, you do, if you have that kind of structure, but you're bringing all sorts of great people together who have the same sort of feeling and the same motivation. Look, we get a buzz off helping people.
Yeah, and it's
not going to fail, is it?
It works both ways. You know, I took the element of what you talked about when, yeah, it is roast and toast, we pick that up, with a problem-solving element, with 30 people in a room that are all going to contribute, all with different skill sets, you know, back to the power by mates and all this kind of stuff. But because of how it's been structured, I went, this is going to be really easy for me to walk into because I get the heart bit. The strength and the benefit for me is I'm going to get people there that are more, I guess, thinking about the head bit and going, right, if I bring the heart bit in and they bring the head bit in, all of a sudden we do what we've done. And that's the benefit, isn't it? Because the group of people that have gathered in this first cohort are so different, but yet so in tune with trying to find solutions. I mean, we laughed in the first session, but you know, people were trying to solve the problem before the person had got the problem out because they just wanted to help. And I thought, you know, that came across so strongly, but it had that structural element of going, right, this is what we're bringing to the party. This is what, you know, and a bit of challenge and all that kind of stuff, which is great.
It's great. And Dave, you were one of the first people to stand up and share your problem.
Yeah.
And we're not going to go into that because what happens in YAB stays in YAB. It's like a lad's a beat through holiday. You know, what goes on tour stays on tour. But you were one of the first people to stand up in front of everyone and say, this is my problem. I want the board to help me solve it. Did we help?
Like you would not believe it.
Tell us if you can. I know there's some things that are still under development, but tell us the impact it's had on.
So the really interesting one for me, and it's been the journey all the way through for the last 18 months really, has been that we've had to flex and shape some stuff and
keep talking.
Right. So flex and shape some stuff that we were looking to design and move, and it's been quite, I guess, designed by us, but it's also been shaped by what was going on in an environment, and that's been brilliant in many ways, but it's also been possibly our downfall in the fact that I know what it is in my head, but the clarity of that hasn't always been something I can do.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. And I think what I brought to the party was going, look, our reputation's brilliant. People are saying this is great, and it's all of those kind of things. But our revenue doesn't match the reputation that we've got. You know, we're up for awards, we're doing all this kind of stuff. I'm going, it doesn't seem right, this. You know, I've had spells all the last 12 months where I thought, shall I become a postman because it's an easier option?
I have.
and I don't, I'm going, right, hold on, I've switched my heart off here and nothing. But I'm going, this has to be a strong structural business. And as we've grown this, you know, we started off with Mindsight. That was the plan. It was always the plan. It was always about going into the workspace. Then Roast and Toast developed from that because of what happened with COVID.
Bringing people together.
Yeah, so we brought people together. So then we had Mindsight and Roast and Toast. Then on the back of that, we created this thing called Six Connections because that came organic. So all of these things have come organically from each other. But what a confusing mess it became. Now, when you speak to people, and when I speak to people, the journey for that individual is really clear. You know, there's a product there that helps you contact with people. If you want to speak to somebody else, there's this Roast and Toast thing. If you want to take that further into your business, there's an element of consultancy. Or, to be honest, you can just buy me and I'll come in and talk to people like we're doing and add some value and be that kind of lad on the street that's happy to talk about all of this stuff. But it wasn't clear because it was under numerous different banners. And what came back from the room was, it's the clarity of the story.